Hi, welcome. I'm Ken Weinstein, and I'm a political novice. And I say I'm a political novice because if I was politically smart, I would have donated my $250 to the Committee of 70, the Fairmount Park Conservancy, and United by Blue. So that's why I'm a political novice. But I'm going to need your help with this, okay? I know I only have 5 minutes, but every time I say democracy, I need you to say, is participation, okay? So let's give it a try. Democracy. Is participation. You guys are awesome. So, and because we're here at Yards today, it's a drinking game too. So if you don't say, is participation, you have to imbibe, okay? So I need you to help me with this. So my story starts in Somerville, New Jersey, where I grew up, Central Jersey, not too far from Teaneck. And I grew up as a son, the youngest of 3 boys, to parents who were very politically aware, and my father, who was very politically active. He ran for Congress in 1986. He was county chairman, Democratic county chairman, Somerset County. And I grew up, I remember specifically before he was active, and I remember he would get pissed off about things in Somerville. And specifically, I remember our high school principal, Dr. Creasy, announcing one day that there was no drugs in the high school, which was a flat-out lie. I also remember the racists in town refused to rename our high school Paul Robeson High. Yes, Paul Robeson and I went to the same high school. And I remember he would get pissed off about these things. So what did he do? He ran for city council, eventually became president of city council. He then ran for the Board of Education, eventually became head of the Board of Education. And I remember going door to door with him. This was at a time before we had Fitbits. So he actually did it because democracy. Okay, the rest of you are drinking. So after high school, I went to college, like a lot of people, somewhat reluctantly. And it still pissed my father off for many years because I said my goal going to college was to get a 3.0. Why did I want to get a 3.0? Everyone else is shooting for a 4.0. Because if I got a 4.0 or even a 3.5, it meant I was studying too much and not doing enough because democracy. Right, exactly. Thank you. So I was president of the College Democrats on campus for 4 years. I eventually became executive vice president of the National College Democrats. And one of my favorite stories from college is on campus at the University of Delaware, we ran a voter registration drive. It was massive. We got everyone involved. I got the college Republicans somehow to co-sponsor, and we registered 3,517 voters. It scared the shit, out of the Democratic and Republican parties in Delaware because they knew we would change the landscape. And to make matters even worse, the college Republicans, which included Chris Christie, who was a year ahead of me, came out against it after they saw the power of what we did. Because we realized that it's not just enough to vote, you also need to registered voters because democracy is participation. Much better, thank you. I then got out of college and did something I didn't know that you could do, but I made a career out of working on campaigns. I did 7 campaigns. I worked for Dukakis. I ran 2 campaigns for Councilwoman Fernandez in Philadelphia. I ran the KC16, Tough Honest Judges, which really helped my percentage, by the way, because we won 15 out of 16. So that was kind of cool. But one of the more memorable campaigns was I worked for Joe Huffle in '84, who was running for Congress. And it was memorable because I had never spent a lot of time in the city. I was a suburban kid. And I remember going to the 34th Ward, which is Overbrook. And there, in a large room, was a bunch of African-American politicians. Chaka Fattah was at the table, Vince Hughes was at the table, you know, a lot of these players, and they're all yelling at each other. And this little white suburban kid walks in, and they're yelling at each other, and they just stop and look at me. And that's when I realized that democracy, they had the passion for it, and I always saw that and remembered that. I then became a committee person. I just retired a couple years ago after 25 years as a committee person. I then graduated to doing fundraising, which my wife and I spend a lot of time doing. We have events coming up for Governor Wolf and for Chrissy Houlihan and Connor Lamb, who are running for Congress. And one of the early memories I have of doing that political fundraising, because at some point you got to graduate because you have kids, you can't spend 80 to 100 hours a week doing and working on campaigns. But one of the early memories I have is we got a call in the early 90s or late 90s when John Kerry was running for president, and we were at a bat mitzvah in North Jersey. And I get a call from a political person who says, Jesse Jackson would like to appear at your house tomorrow night. And it happened to be Halloween. My wife immediately said, it's Halloween. We're not doing that. We got 3 kids that need to hit the neighborhood and collect candy. We're not doing that. Our house is a mess. We did it. 250 people showed up with 24 hours notice. We killed it. And we got some great pictures with Jesse Jackson. We lost the election, but you already knew that. My story ends like it started because my wife Judy and I have raised 3 wonderful boys who are now 17, 21, and 24. And, you know, as Harry Chapin says, the circle comes round and round. And just like my father brought me up and raised me to be to understand that democracy, we have raised our boys to do the same thing. When we're not talking technology at the dinner table, which we love to do, we're talking politics. We're talking about white privilege. We're talking about people that don't have what we have. We're talking about why it all matters. And I'm proud to this day that my youngest, Noah, is spending a lot of time convincing people of his points of view in high school. My middle one, Evan, spends a lot of time trying to get his fellow students at Penn to vote. And my oldest, Ari, has written an app called voteplease.org that is helping people in all 50 states register to vote and get absentee ballot applications. So I'm very proud of them, and I'm glad I'm able to help them understand that democracy. Thank you for listening.